Hi, my name is Alicia, and welcome to Mess to Masterpiece. Tonight's topic is laughter. And so, growing up, for the most part, I was a very serious kid. As well as when I got to high school and college, I was definitely a nerd, and you could find me studying. Just took things very seriously, took life seriously. Part of that was what I had gone through, but also just part of my personality. And so fast forward, I got to finally graduated college and became a teacher. And my first year of teaching, I was having a lot of anxiety every day. And not only was it kind of out of my realm because I was teaching middle school, but it was also just a lot of pressure. I felt like because mostly put on myself because I'm definitely a perfectionist. And so I would spend hours and hours and hours upon just grading papers, but more importantly, lesson planning and rehearsing in my head the night before what I was going to say the next day, and even what I expected the kids to say, and just was very scripted, I guess is the best way to put it. And so about, I'd say several months into teaching, my first period class were 8th graders, and they definitely kept me on my toes that year, and I grew to love them dearly. But I was doing my thing as normal and writing notes on the board, and they were going to be taking them down, and I spelled something wrong. And normally that would have been like day crusher, done, completely done, just upset, and if I would have noticed, but I didn't even notice, and I just kept on writing and taking notes, or writing down the notes for the kids to take on the board. And when I turned back around, the kids, you could see that they had kind of like a smirk on their face, but everybody was quiet. And I stepped back and then realized, that was way spelled wrong. And one of the kids chuckled, and then I started laughing, and the room just erupted. And showing them that little human part of me was a huge step, and because they began to respect me a whole lot more, and realizing that I messed up too, and that I never got everything perfect, and that gave them permission to fail too, and to laugh. And we had many laughs in that class, lots of stories. It's crazy. This year they're actually going to be seniors, that same class. But needless to say, that beautiful little lesson carried me through teaching and made it much more enjoyable, not so stressful, and not so much anxiety nearly as much as it was in the beginning. So fast forward, that lesson was going to carry me so far in the days ahead. And just about this time last year, I had an NJ feeding tube in my nose. And it was a big day, big time in my world, because I transitioned from that tube in my nose to a tube in my stomach. And I talk about all the different types of feeding tubes, but basically I had surgery, and they put a feeding tube in my stomach, and so I was very sore, but I was excited to be able to have this new tube, and everybody couldn't necessarily tell. So it was going to be just a more reliable source of constant nutrition. So several days after the surgery, I just rested and everything because I was very sore. But I finally decided one night I was going to embark on the journey to Walmart. And, and at that point I had been wearing sweaters, kind of like I have on tonight. But this time I was like, oh yeah, I'll just put on my sweatshirt. And so I hooked up to my backpack. I had my feeding tube pump running, my bag running. It was kind of like the first big adventure out since the surgery. And so I went to Walmart and was walking up and down the aisles, and was over in the home decor. I'm pretty sure I was getting some light bulbs. So I was walking up and down that side of the store, and all of a sudden I looked down, and I could feel my sweatshirt getting wet from the inside. And so I was like, oh no. And the formula that I was on was incredibly smelly. It smelled awful. So it didn't take long before I was like, oh my gosh. Then the formula starts dripping all down me, all down my pants, all into the floor. And I was hurrying and trying to get my backpack off and to try to stop the pump, and then I'm trying to grab the tube to make sure it had come unplugged. So it was just pouring, the food was just pouring out, the formula, and so it was just going everywhere. And so I was trying so hard. I mean, I'm in the middle of Walmart, and it was a bigger store here in Roanoke, and so it was, a lot of people everywhere, and you just kind of get, people are giving me like that weird look, like, what in the world is this girl doing? Because I'm like sticking my hand up my sweatshirt trying to just shut it up. So finally I get it stopped, but I am clearly just dripping wet of formula. So I decided I'm going to go ahead and go to the bathroom, and luckily I didn't have too much at that point in my cart. So I pushed, kind of trying to sulk all the way over. I was on the opposite end, of course, of the bathroom. So I make the trek over the bathroom, and I got in the bathroom, and it realized it was even worse than I thought. My shirt on the inside of my sweatshirt was completely soaked, and I had a white t-shirt on, and so it was this brown, ugly color, and it was awful. And I smelled awful, and it was dripping, and there was, in a Walmart bathroom, there's really not much sanitary, healthy things. So I was I didn't know where to put my, bag, and touching things, and it was just a big mess. So needless to say, I just stood there and cried for a good minute. It was just bawling, crying. It's a most embarrassing thing ever. Here I am, new to the whole feeding tube pump world, and then now I have an exploding pump in Walmart, and it's just an embarrassment. And so I stood there and cried, I'd say a good several minutes, and finally I was just like, oh my gosh, it just crossed my mind, Alicia, you could stand here and cry all day, or you can just choose to laugh and go on, because this is so stupid. It's in a way, it's funny. So just almost giving myself the permission to laugh at myself. And so then I just burst into laughter, and the Lord was so good in giving me that glimpse. And so from then on, in my journey, not only did I embrace, yeah, I have a feeding tube, or yeah, I have a backpack that I have to carry everywhere. Believe me, the epic explosions and things from there just continued. Feeding tube world was a mess, but from then on, no matter what I faced, I have my moments for sure that I just stand and cry, and there's definitely space to cry, and I want to make sure that you realize that. But the beautiful thing is that when you start to laugh at yourself and some of the stupid things that happen in life, and realizing that feeding tube pump exploding isn't life and death. It's not the end of the world. My clothes will wash. I will get more food in the feeding tube pump. I'm sure that other people have had crazy things happen at Walmart too. So just by laughing at myself, I also invite others to laugh with me, and that has been crucial in my journey. With so much serious medical issues going on, like with a stroke and sepsis, and I've had all kinds of issues, and obviously there is a time to cry, and there's a time to grieve, and there's definitely time for that. But I refer to the scripture from Proverbs 17 of how a cheerful heart is good medicine, and not only other people laughing, that can be a huge blessing. I know that I enjoy people that just make me laugh. It just lightens the mood and the world. Just gives me some perspective, and not so serious and hardcore all the time. But also giving yourself permission to laugh at yourself, and giving yourself grace in that. And that has just been a huge part in my journey. So I hope that helps, and if you have any kind of crazy funny stories too, I would love to hear them. And as always, I'd love to connect with you.